Well, this is the real test. Will the Democratic candidates running and vying for their party's nomination to be the president, will they actually take on Michael Bloomberg in the debate? Or will they roll over and play dead because they have been monetarily influenced to do so? Let's find out. Before we get to the mayor, let's get to the other mayor. You know, the one from South Bendover, Indiana, Mayor Buttgig. Which, by the way, I hear that's what Steven Crowder is now calling Mayor Pete. But I said it first. That said, remember, Mayor Pete wants to be the logical, sensible, the less radical, who is able to bridge the revolution with sanity, that he is the moderate choice who's got personality, charisma, none of which Mike Bloomberg has, but that he's not all that real radical. You can trust him, especially he's the kind of guy that wants to just bring good ideas together for everybody, like healthcare.
Healthcare. We could make, my plan will make sure there's no such thing as an uninsured American. The difference is just I don't think we should force everybody onto the public plan, because I think if I'm right, and if we progressives are right that that plan will be the best one, everybody will pick it anyway. And if we're wrong a little bit, we're going to be really glad we didn't kick people off their old plan. So it just puts a little humility into the policy.
Doesn't that sound so good, so helpful, just like a little Boy Scout? We have to have some humility just in case our idea is not that good. But that's not what he's actually saying out on the campaign trail.
The question of whether it leaves private insurance intact, that's actually up to the insurance companies. Either they'll come up with something better that'll compete with the plan I'm putting out there, or they'll fail. And to be honest, I don't care.
So he doesn't care if 150, 200 million Americans get kicked off their health policies with nowhere to go except his. He doesn't care. That's his idea of humility. The one thing you can be sure of when a Democrat is speaking, they're either misinformed, delusional, or they're outright lying. And Mayor Pete is a liar. He's not delusional. He is not misinformed. He is a liar. He is insanely progressive. He just packages it better than Bernie Sanders does. And he's got this likable, aw shucks, Boy Scout kind of personality that he hides behind. And it does give him some charisma, especially with the hags over on The View. And isn't it interesting to note, there was all this applause when he was on there, and occasionally the cameras would pan the audience at The View, and half the audience was wearing Mayor Pete t-shirts. That's funny, because when Donald Trump Jr. went on The View, he made his first comment that like 2 people started to clap, and immediately Joyless Not a Babe Heart and Whoopi jumped on the audience and said, "This is not a Trump rally. You're not going to behave like that here." Okay, 2 people affirmed something that Trump Jr. was saying, and yet Mayor Pete can have an entire cheerleading section, and that's okay. And you really don't think that the media is trying to groom you for who they want you to pick? Give me a break. That said, Mayor Mike, yes, the guy who is yet to be vetted. Will the Democratic candidates have the tenacity to vet him during the debate? That will be interesting. That said, we already know what he is. He is an arrogant, erudite, nanny state. He thinks he knows more than you about everything. He has said some of the most outrageous stuff through the years that you would think the Democrats, that the media that's fawning all over themselves for this guy, would have vetted him on, would have known, he's got some serious baggage here, and we're going to have to do a lot of damage control and a lot of spin doctor, spin doctor, spin doctor. Well, that's exactly what they're doing right now. You've got the leadership of the NAACP out there saying, oh, we don't have any problem with what he said about stop and frisk because he said he was sorry. Okay. Well, what about the fact that he thinks, taxing poor people, that's a good thing because it will save their life?
Some people say, well, taxes are regressive, but in this case, yes, they are. That's the good thing about them, because the problem is in people that don't have a lot of money. And so higher taxes should have a bigger impact on their behavior and how they deal with themselves. So I listen to people saying, oh, we don't want to tax the poor. Well, we want the poor to live longer so that they can get an education and enjoy life. And that's why you do want to do exactly what a lot of people say you don't want to do. The question is, do you want to pander to those people, or do you want to get them to live longer? And there's just no question. If you raise taxes on full sugary drinks, for example, they will drink less, and there's just no question that full sugar drinks are one of the major contributors to obesity, and obesity is one of the major contributors to heart disease and cancer and a variety of other things.
Then, of course, why this prep school boy of privilege who was probably raised by nannies and his mother, used to win at Scrabble because, quote, the housekeeper let her. This guy who really looks down on everyone, thinking that he's smarter than everyone, and he's not trying to hide anything. He's not trying to hide his arrogance and his contempt for the 99%ers. In fact, this guy is Mitt Romney on steroids when it comes to his arrogant privilege. And he thinks that with enough money and enough marketing, he can convince you to vote for him anyway, because after all, he's kind of like, one of you. This is like an axe convincing a forest. Hey, don't be afraid of me, trees. Look at my handle. It's made out of wood too. See, I'm just like you, when really the axe is there to lay waste to the forest. And Michael Bloomberg, I'm watching you progressives embrace this guy because he can beat Trump. He can beat Trump. You do understand that Trump has enacted policies that actually benefit the so-called people you say you care about. Minorities, the poor, the working class, the middle class. And here comes Mayor Mike. And what does he think of those people?
I could teach anybody, even people in this room, so no offense intended, to be a farmer. It's a process. You dig a hole, you put a seed in, you put dirt on top, add water, up comes the corn. Then we had 300, you could learn that. Now comes the information economy. And the information economy is fundamentally different because it's built around replacing people with technology. And the skill sets that you have to learn are how to think and analyze. And that is a whole degree level different. You have to have a different skill set. You have to have a lot more gray matter.
I have never done much in the way of farming. In fact, I'm pretty good at cutting the grass. That I can do. Tending flowers, tending a garden, I kill everything. I had a grandfather who was a farmer. I have great respect for farmers. I went to high school with kids who grew up on farms. I have an enormous respect for people that literally work from sunup to sunset, and then all it takes is just the wrong change in temperature, the wrong adversarial weather conditions, and their entire life and livelihood can literally be wiped out. What they do is amazing. I happen to live around a lot of farming and farmland, and I can tell you, these people work, and they work hard, and it is to be celebrated. And it's not just that they work hard, they're smart. But according to Mayor Mike, why, anybody can dig a hole and put a seed in it. I can do that. That would be like me saying, hey, I know how to be a billionaire businessman. You just buy low and sell high. There's a lot more to it than that. And he and any businessman would be grossly insulted if I passed myself off as being an expert in what they do, making a flippant statement like that. But yet, he absolutely just dissed a sizable portion of the American population. I love what Representative Devin Nunes had to say about Mike Bloomberg and apparently his concept of farming.
This is the San Joaquin Valley. We're the breadbasket of the solar system, we like to say. 300 different crops grow here, and it takes a hell of a lot of experience to do it. Generations of farmers. It's very scientific, as you said. Mike Bloomberg seems to think that this is just like, buying a chia pet at Walmart and putting some water on it. That's not how this works. It is quite complicated, and it's not just the farmers. It's getting that food safely all the way to a grocery store in Manhattan so that it doesn't poison someone.
He thinks it's like buying a chia pet at Walmart. That was great. But more importantly than that, what about the progressive left? After all, they're for the people. They're for the labor movement and the workers. How is all of this playing with the progressive left within the Democratic Party? I take you to the Young Turks, and you know absolutely how I feel and don't feel about Cenk Uygur. Here is their take on Mayor Mike.
And I promise you that Bloomberg, if he were forced to farm to live, like if he were forced to farm his own land to eat and survive, he would die. Like, he would not have a single crop would grow from one of Bloomberg's farms.
Yes, as someone who, listen, I can edit a podcast, a video, I know Instagram very well. I know, pretty amazing. I can't keep succulents alive, okay? Mike Bloomberg, I think we need to start hashtag Farmer Mike. Let's see you keep just one house plant alive without your help watering it whenever it needs watering. Like, yes, farming actually takes a lot of skill and a lot of analysis and understanding about, like, I don't know, farm stuff, wind, weather patterns, irrigation,
pests,
planning, testing. There is a ton of work. But listen, we all don't, just suckle glucose from stalactites while we hang upside down in our bunkers. I get that you don't eat real human food, okay?
Boom, there it is. But of course, Mike has got PR people telling him what to say. Mike is not even running his own campaign. And you people that think, well, he's just the Democrat version of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, number one, ran his own campaign. Donald Trump ran on his own instinct. Donald Trump actually told you what he stood for, what he was going to do, and that is exactly what he is enacting. And even if some of you didn't think it was popular or he shouldn't say it that way, he said it anyway. He doubled down on it. He stood for it. He got elected. And that is exactly what he is enacting. Donald Trump also spoke the language of the people. He knew where the people were, that they didn't want their borders overrun, that they wanted manufacturing and jobs to return, that somebody had to do something about this economy. He spoke the language of the people. And he spoke in such a way he connected with people. As I told you a few days ago, he has it, and he has it in spades. Mike Bloomberg is not likable on any level. He is like, I'm sorry, and I know guys that are in this profession, and I like you, but you'll forgive me for using this as a stereotype. Mike Bloomberg is like a mortician. He's like a funeral director. Who wants to hang out with this guy? Who wants to be around this guy? This would be like sitting and listening to an endless insurance seminar. You wouldn't go to sleep. You would go into a coma. He doesn't have a personality to connect with people. What he has is a great disdain, and he looks down on people. Now, he's tried to explain away his stop and frisk. And now, with his media experts telling him what to say and how to say it, why, he's actually out there, and he is for the LGBT community, in particular, transgendered individuals.
As an adult, you see that there is a whole bunch of inclusivity. Mike is so incredibly sensitive to this issue.
If your conversation during a presidential election is about some guy wearing a dress and whether he, she, or it can go to and go to the locker room with their daughter, that's not a winning formula for most people. They care about health care, they care about education, they care about safety and all of those kinds of things. If you want to know, is somebody a good salesman, give them the job of going to the Midwest and picking a town and selling to that town the concept that some man wearing a dress should be in the locker room with their daughter. If you can sell that, you can sell anything.
Now here's the thing. Personally, I believe Mike was actually 100% right when he said, you're not going to convince sane, middle America, mainstream America, normal America, that an adult man wearing a dress ought to be in the same restroom with their 8-year-old daughter. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that position. I still adhere to that. Mike, you were right when you said that. The problem is now you are doing the 180 and you are going to pander. You're just absolutely disingenuous. And Democrats, if you nominate this guy, you realize that you are throwing away every single tenet that you've said you're for. We don't want big money in politics. What is Mike Bloomberg doing right now? Writing checks to buy his way to the nomination. We want to be inclusive and accept all people. Listen to what he's had to say. Oh, I know he might be, quote, saying the right things now, and I'm certain he will pander and he will put transgendered individuals in the cabinet and on the Supreme Court and wherever and whatever else. He will pander. Is that really what you want? He has no real core values. He's really that soulless. He really is just the rich white guy of privilege and prestige, and simply because he wants the White House, he thinks he's entitled to have it, and you would give it to him? Really? Really? Oh, this is about to get really interesting as we watch the Democratic Civil War. Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much. Make sure you give us a great big thumbs up and a like. Please support this channel by spreading it. Once again, they're messing with our algorithm. We had a couple of good weeks where we were gaining subscriptions every day. Then we plateaued. Then we began to lose. Check your subscription. Make sure you're still subscribed. Smack the bell to get notification of my rants, and check the word all to get all the notifications.